Gary, a couple of weeks ago, David Artell at Crewe might have thought that they would have cracked their position at the bottom of the table and were pulling away. After their defeat in the week, he certainly doesn't think that's the case. So is your important message to the players that although you've won the last three, and that's great, you haven't cracked it yet either?
No, you can look at Yeovil as well. They've had a lot of draws. They haven't had too many losses, but they had a lot of draws. And all of a sudden you lose one or so, and then the others win a couple. Like we won, Hartlepool won, and Notts County. And all of a sudden you can find yourself looking over your shoulder again. So we certainly know that. I know that, and we are expressing that quite strongly to the players, that although we're very happy with our situation given where we was 3 games ago, we've still got to be aware that this season's not over by any stretch.
Are you looking up though? Are you tempted to look up and say, who can we catch?
Yeah, you always do. That would be lying if I said that wasn't true. I mean, I'd like to catch my old club up, Yeovil, and we're only 2 points away from them, and yet we was a long way away behind them at some stage. And that can be the sort of target, because maybe Crawley, just above them, is another team that you could catch. But the reason why you want to catch these teams is to have more teams below you later on in the season. And the more teams that are below you, the better it is, of course. So yeah, I'm looking at, but I look at the leagues. We study the leagues. I mean, I get a new league table nearly every week when Tim is commissioned to. I told you, do a league table after the Accrington game, and I think we're 4th in that. Mansfield are 3rd, so we know that they're one of the form teams like us. And that's sort of good reading for 10 games. I think we'll be doing all right in the last 6 games, 8 games, where they do the teams. What they call them? Yeah, the form tables. So honestly, to answer your question, a bit lengthy. Stop you asking me too many others. We do study the league tables, and all my staff we find little bits and pieces from league tables, and especially when we're going to play a team, we want to know how many goals they've scored away at home, what they've done. We have a look at it, how many at home, what the difference is, how many points they've had at home and away. So we study it pretty much.
I'm sure you've crossed paths with Steve Evans before. He plays quite a forceful style, doesn't he?
Yeah. It's his personality. It is a forceful style. I remember once seeing a game that he had, and he squirted water over the opposite manager, and I was playing in the next week. And of course, first thing I asked him was, would you mind not squirting me with water this week, please? And he obliged. That was nice. So I think if you're nice to him, he's okay. But he's a competitor, and he's an aggressive competitor. And I'm sure that's why his teams are doing well, because there's no hiding place. We both can put on a nice persona in front of you people, but sometimes you have to be that manager that gets the best out of his team, and Steve does that with his teams. We go back when he was at Boston and I was at Yeovil trying to get into the Football League. But he's done well for himself. So whatever his style, it's going okay for him.
In terms of your own side, are you seeing the trust growing between the players that effectively, I'd say throw together would be a harsh word, but you pulled together in quite a short period of time in January? Yeah,
we definitely haven't thrown them together, that's for sure. There's a lot of work goes into getting a balance, if you like, and I think probably over the last few weeks we've seen that balance come into the fore, and it's making everybody feel comfortable in their position and in their game. They know there's some brilliant players on the bench desperate to come on, as I proved the other night, and so everyone's got to up their game, and that competition does help you get results, and but you have to wait a little while sometimes before you get that, and then everybody's got to be on form at the same time, and eureka, you're on your way.
You were delighted at Orient with the result. On Tuesday, you were delighted with the performance as well as the result. The bar is going up, isn't it, all the time?
Yeah, it's dangerous when the bar goes up because people will look at it. We had a couple of poor games against Notts County and Stevenage. There was things we did okay, but we couldn't say necessarily we deserved the win. When you do win games, you want to have deserved to have won them, and I think the last 3 games have been exactly that. People have moaned about whether it's opposition managers have moaned about the pitch, but mainly they've also thrown in quite a bit about their own team, which is good, that didn't perform on the day, because that's telling me that my team did, because no opposition come not to play well and not to try and get a result. So if we've stopped them doing that, then our lads have done a fine job.
And the experience of people like Davis and Storr in particular have been settling for the group, haven't they? Carl has come on in 2 games and he started the last one, and Liam's just dropped in as if he's been here all season. Yeah,
well, we got a game manage. The players that are out there have got a game manage themselves as well as people around them. We have to do it on the bench. If something's needed, I'll have a quick chat with Russ, opposite end of the dugout, and we'll get together, and sometimes we spend 5-6 minutes on deciding which ones we're going to bring on, and sometimes we can do it just straight away because it's obvious. So yes, those players have been very strong, but so have the others, and I think at the moment, whoever I pick from that 17, most people at the moment, most players will be happy that they're alongside that particular player.
Lastly for me, if you could win on Saturday, you'd go over 40 points. Does that feel like a psychological barrier, having been under 30 not a fortnight or so ago?
Yeah, it does. 40 points at this stage, you should be okay on the run-in. So it is another landmark, if you like, and that's what we do. You look at that as well, but you can still go down on 40 points. You can definitely go down on 40 points. So we've got to make sure that we get up nearer the 45, 50s if we can, without giving us a figure to adhere to. It's not you got to be careful because you never know what might happen. So at the moment we've got to get as many points as we can to stay away from the bottom 2 as much as we can, and the lads are putting a great effort to do that as we stand.
I've had a finally. I just
Finally.
Finally.
Frank Sinatra.
Did you
come back?
Did you learn much from whoever went to watch Mansfield at Yeovil on Tuesday?
I was still laughing at my own joke.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. Sorry, mate.
Mansfield drew at Yeovil on Tuesday. It was 0-0. Did whoever went to that game learn much that you didn't know already about Mansfield?
No, we know enough about Mansfield. We've watched them in a couple of games. You can't just take the one game. It wasn't a great game actually at Yeovil, but we've watched it, and we've got to know their strengths and weaknesses as they will know about us, and make sure that we exploit the weaknesses, but make sure that we don't see their strengths.
That is it now. Thank you.
No problem.